Hey YouTube, welcome to our March 2021 Free League update. This is where we give you all sorts of information as to what's coming up from Free League Publishing, pre-orders that have been announced, new releases, all that, and then we try to answer some questions there at the end. Yeah, I'm going to say that if you are a fan of Free League Publishing, please hit that like button down below. And if you like this type of content and you like to stay up to date, and if you're coming across our channel for the first time or our content for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you join us every single time we go live or upload new content. We've got a lot of stuff headed your way in 2021, and we're excited to share it with you. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Year Zero Engine himself, the CEO of Free League Publishing, the one and only Thomas Herenstam. Thomas, welcome.
Hi. Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us yet again. Everything's well. We had a good Gamma Expo virtually a couple weeks ago, and yeah, we're excited. We also we've got a few things to talk about this update. So let's get right to it.
Sure.
Last week we announced the Albertor, the Haunted Waste, the fifth episode of the Throne of Thorns campaign for Symbaroum. It's now available for pre-order. You can pre-order it at https://Symbaroum.com. Matthias made sure that I mentioned that you have to put in the HTTPS in order for it to come up. So yeah, we launched that pre-order. So if you are a Symbaroum fan, make sure to get your order in. Let's bring Thomas in to talk a little bit more about that. How have the pre-orders been going for Albertor, the Haunted Waste?
Good. I mean, it's going well. It's the first, because the previous installments of this, it's a massive campaign. We've run Kickstarters for those in the past. So this is actually the first one, I believe, that we did not do a Kickstarter for. We did a pre-order, and there are a number of reasons for that. But that made it a bit interesting to see how that would work, because it's kind of, we can't kickstart everything, so we have to kind of, so we figured for this one we'll do more like a normal pre-order, and it seems to be going well. So that's nice to see. So it's really, I mean, this campaign, this is part 5 in this massive epic campaign for Symbaroum. So if you're interested in that, this is the good time to get in on that whole goodness. And if you're new to Symbaroum, I mean, this is obviously part 5, but it's a good opportunity to check out this massive, if you enjoy these kinds of massive, kind of old school campaigns that are really like go real deep, then this is really worth checking out.
Absolutely. And we should mention that this is not, we're not just launching the Haunted Waste book. We actually have another product that's coming out. Actually, we've got 2 products. We've got a map pack and the adventure collection, which is going to put back into print a few of the adventure packs that in the Copper Crown adventure that folks have been.
Symbaroum has been around for 5 years now in English, and even longer in Swedish. So it's some of the early smaller products are out of print. So this is also we're doing a adventure collection to kind of compile these older out of print adventures. So if you missed out of any of those, you can get those as well in this new compilation.
Excellent. Yeah, I know a lot of folks they've been trying to get I've gotten a copy of the Copper Crown from years ago. It was a used copy that was the only one I could find that had notes all written in and everything. So it'll be nice to have like a fresh, newly printed copy of for my Symbaroum collection. Also, I will remind folks that you can still pre-order the Alien Colonial Marines Operations Manual at alien-rpg.com. If you pre-order it, you'll get the PDFs once those are ready, and you also get the PDF art book, which gives you all the amazing art that's in the Colonial Marines Operation Manual. I know a lot of folks are looking for information on this. Thomas, is there anything you can kind of share with folks?
I know it's kind of starting to sound like a broken record, but it's on its way. Right now, it's done.
Nice.
It's pretty much done. It's right now where it's been submitted. I mean, this is a licensed product, obviously, so that means our license owner needs to check it and make sure it's all up to par and everything. So right now it's in submission, so we're just waiting to get word back that it's okay, and if they have any feedback and if we need to make any changes, we'll do that. And once we have the green light, we'll ship out the PDFs to everyone who pre-ordered just immediately. So since it's not really in my or our hands exactly, I cannot give you a date,
Sure.
but I certainly hope it's going to be very, very soon. So yeah, it's
And
I mean, it's a matter of a short period of time. Just that they need time to complete their review, and it's a big book. So I mean, it's obviously they need to have a proper opportunity to go through it and check that it's all okay.
That's one thing that I was going to mention, is that this book is actually a lot larger than we had originally planned for when we announced the release for it. So folks are going to be getting a lot more content than what we had anticipated with this product. So hopefully, I think I'm sure it will be worth the wait for everyone. I know everyone is itching to get it, so I think that I think you'll be pleased. I think you'll be pleased. It's just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer.
A little bit longer. Yeah.
Excellent. Also, I will I'll let folks know that you can still pick up late pledges for the latest the latest narrative art book from Simon Stålenhag, The Labyrinth. We've got a few copies of this still available in our warehouse. And if you pick up a late pledge, you also get all the Kickstarter perks, that the stretch goals and the prints and everything that come with it. So if you're still lacking in adding this to your Simon library at home, pick up a copy. I'm pretty sure we're kind of running low on those, but Thomas, you want to give folks a little bit of an update on those?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's really we have a very small number of copies left over, basically. So this is really a limited offer that we will just have them available until they run out, which is probably going to be fairly soon, I would guess, because we are only we're the official publisher for the Swedish version in all channels, basically. But for the English version, we are only managed the Kickstarter and the Pledge Manager. We will not be releasing it in retail. So that means our books that we printed are only for the Kickstarter and this Pledge Manager. So that means once they're gone, and then it's out of our hands, really. I mean, there's going to be a retail release, but that's I don't have any date because it's not done by us. It's by an American publisher that we work with, but they will print their own book, basically, and publish it at a later time.
Excellent. So yeah, so if you want all that, all those little extras that were part of the Kickstarter, this is definitely. Plus, you'll get a really nice edition of this book as well. So act very quickly, because it's only going to be available for a limited time. Let's one of the Kickstarters that folks are still that's kind of out there, that I know that went into production very recently and the Pledge Manager closed, is a fall release for us. It's Tales from the Loop, the board game. This is going to give folks a chance to play Tales from the Loop in a different way. It's a co-op game where you solve mysteries, and it's pretty awesome. It's got some of the same components as the RPG. At least it has the RPG dice included with the board game. It's got some really sweet minis that are going to be made by Dust Studios. We can see what Thomas has for an update on that if you want. You want to give folks a little bit of an update?
Yeah, I mean, it's fully done. We just got it's something you call a proof file from the printer for all the printed stuff. We already all the miniatures are already in production, but now we got the sort of proofing files. That means we send our files into the printer and they send a copy back. And so basically now they will produce a physical prototype, and send to us for approval. And once that's done, they will start, churning out, thousands of games that will be shipping out. So now it's just a matter of actual physical production, and that takes time. That and shipping out takes time. So that's why even though it's still March, even though there's not that much left of it. We estimate now that we'll be able to ship this to backers June, possibly July, so that around that in the middle of the summer. I think May was the target date, but that's slipped by about a month, or even possibly into July, just because it takes a bit of extra time now in these days to get shipping and production and all of that done. So that's the reason for that. But it's a fully done and on its way out. So it should be fairly soon. I mean, in the summer, you'll be able to play the full finished game if you were a backer for this. And then we'll have a normal release a bit later on, probably early fall or late summer.
You know, one of the things that the folks, when we were at Gamma Expo, of course, Gamma Expo is a retailer event that's for the industry, and it was done virtually this year. And that was one thing that folks were very excited about. Retailers would come up to our booth and say, hey, you know, I sell a lot of Tales from the Loop, the RPG. I'm really excited about the board game. So if you're a friendly local game store and you sell a lot of copies of Tales from the Loop already, then this should be a huge hit for you as well. So very cool. All right, let's see. We've got another Kickstarter to kind of address. So let's talk a little bit about Twilight 2000. This was another thing that another product that retailers were very excited for. That they came up and kept on asking about Twilight 2000, the progress, and what it was going to entail. A lot of folks are really excited about box sets, and this is going to be a really great box set that should fly off shelves when it releases this summer or this fall. I guess I don't know when you've got some sort of update for Twilight 2000 for us, Thomas.
Yeah, I guess so. We're finalizing the beta PDF for this one. We're actually not just doing an alpha, but also a beta that we'll also send to backers for a second round of review and feedback. And that's because their community is very engaged and very interested in this, all of the details of this game. And we got so much great feedback on the alpha that we feel we'll actually do another round of feedback. You won't be as involved. We won't have that much time this time around, but at least a chance for backers to have a look at the beta as well. And also the beta is going to be everything, the full complete game. In the alpha, there were some chapters missing, and that which is usually the case in these alpha PDFs, that doesn't include 100% of the content. But the beta will be the complete full 100% of the game. So that's a chance to have a look at that. And we're working on that right now. It's just going to be, I was hoping this week, but yeah, there is family stuff going on, Easter weekend things.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite get where we wanted to this week. So, but next week, I certainly hope we'll be able to put the beta together. And now all of the text is done, all of the rules modifications are done, all the additions are done, all the new art is done. It's all done. What it remains to do now in the beta is just graphic design and just get the layout together for the bits that are changed and the bits that are new that were not in the alpha. So hopefully next week sounds entirely reasonable. And yeah, I mean, same thing there. This is a box set. It takes quite a bit of time to put together, and then there's the shipping. So it's going to come slightly after the Tales from the Loop board game. So for this one, it looks like backers will hopefully get a hold of it in like August, and then we'll probably have a retail release in stores in September. If we can hit the new date for Gen Con, which is like mid-September, that would be a good date for us for the retail release. The backers should have it before then.
Very good, very good. I think the last Kickstarter that we need probably maybe a little bit of an update on that is this little Kickstarter that I think folks might have heard about. It's called The One Ring. It just ended like just a few weeks ago, so I can't imagine we've got too much of an update for backers at this point. But is there anything that you want to let folks know about? Is there maybe is the pledge manager? Do we have kind of an idea when that's going to hit?
Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of just the general production, that's just like you say, it's just going ahead. Text, art, everything. Right. I mean, the artists are working, the writers are working, the graphic design. The full layout work has not quite started, but it's the first thing after Twilight, basically. So that's in a few weeks. We'll kick off layout full speed. Now it's a matter of getting all of the art and text and just getting it all together. So that's happening, but I don't have that many details on it. But yeah, like you mentioned, the pledge manager, which is where you will be able to enter your address and like get extra add-ons. Will also open up for late pledges. You can pay your shipping. So all of that stuff is going to be in the pledge manager. And that one is opening soon. We're working on it right now. Today it's going through the details. There's probably going to be a few more days, and considering Easter, it's probably going to be like, I would say, next week, without being promising specific dates. But that's what I would expect. So, and it's going to be open for quite some time. So you won't be in a rush to complete it, even though it's good to complete it as soon as possible so you don't forget it. But it's not like it's going to be open at least until the summer, so there is time. But nice. So you don't have to worry that it's not up and running yet. But next week I would expect.
Okay, excellent. I think the last and final thing that we have for the update is an announcement that was made yesterday. Excuse me. That, of course, is Ruins of Symbaroum is coming to Kickstarter April 13th. And I'm just like everything that we've talked about in this update. If you are interested in anything that we're talking about, check the links in the description of this video. I know that there's a link for the Kickstarter preview, so you can follow and get alerted once this Kickstarter goes live. This is basically bringing Symbaroum to 5e and putting that rule set in and giving the Symbaroum setting 5e rule set. Pretty much it's going to hopefully introduce a whole new audience to this setting, this story. And yeah, it's something that we've been working on for quite a while. I know Matthias is very, very excited about this, and actually probably both Matthiases are. Let's talk a little bit about that. We'll have more information on this coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got some interviews and everything, so we won't dive into it too much. But do you want to tell folks a little bit about what's going to be offered with this Kickstarter?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's gonna kick off in 2 weeks on April 13th. So there'll be more information around that time. You can already sign up to be notified. There is, I think, you should be able to see it on our Facebook feed. There is a link for a pre-launch page, and you can just go there and enter your email, and then you'll get notified once the Kickstarter launches, which might be a good idea so that you don't miss out. And yeah, I mean, one of the reasons the Haunted Waste campaign module is not a Kickstarter is that we are kickstarting this one. It would be a bit much to do these at the same time. So yeah, so I mean, what we want to do with this Kickstarter is to, like you said, to offer the Symbaroum setting to a wider audience of gamers. That's a general idea, and I want to be really clear because there are some people we have heard some concern that this is sort of might be to the detriment of like the core Symbaroum game line, and I can confidently say that that's not the case. We're not sort of shifting focus toward 5e or anything like that. This is completely in parallel. So all we want to do is to get more people interested in trying out the Symbaroum setting, because the Symbaroum rules are perfectly fine too. But I think it's a very setting focused game, which is and we just feel that it would be a good fit to offer it to 5e players also. And I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll convert some of them over to play Symbaroum Core or even our other games also. So it's all part of a grand scheme. So no need to worry about us doing just 5e stuff or anything like that going forward. That's not the plan. But we do hope this can be a great way to get more people to experience this setting and this game. So and yeah, one thing that is really, really important because I mean 5e is obviously a game system that is it needs to be really balanced well, and the conversion is not just something you can do quickly, and it really needs to be done really well, because you have to do two things. You have to, even though you're adapting the 5e rule set, you still need to keep what's unique for Symbaroum. So it's not just some kind of carbon copy of normal 5e. It has to have like the classes and the abilities and everything have to reflect the Symbaroum setting and make them unique. But then at the same time, it still has to have that 5e balance in combat encounters and so on. So it's not an easy task. So we have a guy called Jacob Rogers who's working on that. He also worked on Adventures in Middle-earth, which is the 5e adaptation of the first edition of the One Ring. So he's been doing this conversion work, and he's really experienced in that. And we're really happy with how it turned out. And if you want to have a look at it, there's even a PDF, a free PDF, I think it's like pages, which is like a taster of a 5e Symbaroum. It's available and you can just download it. I think it should be available at DriveThruRPG at no cost, but I think that's the easiest place to get it.
Yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah, it's really well done, and this is going to be, I mean, the full game. We're offering 3 core books. It's the player's manual, a game master, player guide, game master's guide, and then the bestiary. So it's like 3 full hardcover, full color books with all of that Symbaroum goodness. So it's like a pretty big thing. And I mean, of course, if everything goes well, then we will be piece by piece convert and adapt the other content also. So yeah, what we're looking for is to basically have 2 separate parallel lines, and hopefully they'll strengthen and help each other going forward.
Nice. Is the plan? Well, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we have a dedicated a chat with Matthias and everyone that is on the team for the Kickstarter. So if you're interested in Ruins of Symbaroum, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, then that way you'll be notified, because we've got content coming up here in the next couple weeks and during the Kickstarter to talk a little bit more about it and to kind of give you a little more idea. And if you have any more other questions, you can ask most of the team directly. So on those chats. All right, I think that's all that I have for updates on existing new releases, updates on pre-orders and Kickstarters. There was a couple questions, and if folks have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll try to address them as we go along. Earlier, someone messaged on YouTube here and asked, can you give them any information about Mutant Astra?
Yeah,
Mutant's one of those lines that fans are just like clamoring for more content for.
Yeah, I know it's tricky. I mean, it's always a challenge, obviously, to have, because we have several game lines, and of course, with every new game line that we get, we have more, and we want to and try to support all of these game lines, because I mean, we really love them all. So but it can be a balance, because we kind of have to shift focus a little bit, and for periods of time focus more on this and a little bit less on that, and so on. And then all of these games are in different places in the kind of a life cycle thing, that some are newer releases and some have been around for quite a few years by now. Like, and Mutant Year Zero is, of course, our first international game. It's now close to 7 years old, so it's been around for quite a long time, and it's got a lot of content already for it. And that doesn't mean we don't want to do anything more. It's just a kind of in a phase now where we're kind of reconsidering how to move forward with the Mutant Year Zero. And Mutant Astra is kind of an offshoot of that. It's in the same universe. It takes place at the same time, but it's obviously in space instead of on Earth. So, and it's well along. The art is all done. The text is well underway, but it's been one of those projects that have been a little bit on the back burner, because we haven't been really sure on where to go with it and so on. But hopefully we should have news, I mean, in the next next few months. I don't want to overpromise on this particular project, but sure. It's coming. So just hang in there. And we have some really cool other ideas and projects related to Mutant Year Zero also, that I can tell you about more at another time, another update, because those I'm really looking forward to personally, and they're not only role-playing games. So that's going to be fun to talk more about when we get a chance to do that.
Excellent. I know previously at the beginning of this chat, I'd have to scroll up, but someone was asking about our plans for Foundry with our games. Are we planning on releasing any more of our titles on Foundry for folks?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we want to. I mean, we want to really provide support and modules for our games across several platforms. I think the most recent one we've had releases on is obviously Foundry, and we do have more Foundry projects coming up. Really, I think all of our games are in some stage of development as Foundry modules. So you can expect in the next couple of months, we'll pretty much be releasing every single core game that we have on Foundry. So it's just basically a matter of time. We have awesome developers working on these titles right now. So it's well underway. I don't have any dates, but pretty much whichever game you are playing, there will be a Foundry module within the next 6 months for it.
Oh, awesome.
So
Very
that's
cool.
definitely coming.
Excellent. I know over the weekend there was an announcement. Bill Bryant asked, can you talk a little more about the new Vaesen release focusing on the British Isles?
Right. Yeah, that was a bit of a sneak announcement that we did. I did an interview with, I think, Tabletop Magazine. So, and that's a British magazine. So I figured it was appropriate. We'll come out with proper announcement with more information and art and all of that stuff later on. But yeah, we're doing for Vaesen a big campaign book called Mythic Britain. Like maybe the core game has a setting called the Mythic North, which kind of pretty much Scandinavia in a kind of a mythic semi-historical 19th century Scandinavia. Not really historically correct. That's not sort of the focus of the game, but it has that kind of a mythic quality and a kind of a mid 19th century feel. And we're doing the same treatment on Britain next. So this book will pretty much follow the same structure. But it's going to be focused the setting geographically on Britain instead. And like in another core piece of the setting is that the characters belong to this thing called the Society, which are basically this group investigating these strange creatures, these Vaesen that come out, do weird stuff. So basically there will be a society also. So you can either shift if you want to have your characters from the Mythic North head over to Mythic Britain, or start a new campaign there. And basically, so this book is going to have information about the setting. It's going to have information about specifically British Isles, like creatures and Vaesen from the British Isles. I mean, some of them are similar to what's in the Mythic North, but somewhat different and quite unique for Britain, Ireland, Scotland, England. I mean, you have your unique creatures there also. So there's going to be that, and there's going to be those creatures, and it's all going to be illustrated by Johan Egerkrans himself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's it's going to be fantastic, I think. So all of the new creatures are going to be illustrated by him. And then we'll have this book is written by Graham Davis, who's known for his work on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I mean, the first
very nice.
Also, their most recent edition. So he was one of these iconic RPG writers from like the 80s that I was a fan of back then. And now he's doing this work. He's working on this one for us, and the book will also include, I think, 3, 4. At least a number of mysteries, complete ready scenarios to play also. So if you're kind of into Vaesen, but you want to play, you find it more, like interesting to play in Britain instead of like Scandinavia, if that's kind of more your thing, or if you are British, or even if wherever you're from, it can be a nice different feel to it. So that's what we're doing. We're doing this book, and probably that's kind of the focus we'll have for Vaesen, at least for major expansions going forward. That we'll probably have like these kind of geographical campaign books covering different areas of the world and the Vaesen, the creatures that are picked from the folklore and stories of that area. So that's kind of the long-term plan for Vaesen, and Mythic Britain is the first one out of these large expansions that we're doing.
Very nice. Fenhorn asks, we've already kind of addressed the first part of this question, but news about Vaesen and Forbidden Lands. Do we have any Forbidden Lands content? Anything that we can kind of tease folks about Forbidden Lands, since that's one of our IPs as well?
Yes, I think so. We have, I mean, I can't say too much detail yet,
Sure.
again, but we are working on 2 different projects for Forbidden Lands. One of them is another campaign book, big campaign book that expands the world and adds a new map, just like the Bitter Reach did. But this time, the next one, we're heading, west instead of north. So we're going into this area called the, it's got a couple of different names, Asleen or the Ashen Vale. It's that area west of the core Ravenland, Forbidden Lands area. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there, so it's probably going to be the weirdest module for Forbidden Lands yet.
I love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. It's well underway. Eric Gronstrom, who did Raven's Purge and also the setting material in the core game, he's the writer of this module also. He's well underway, I think, so we'll have more. And the art is coming along. It's none of that has been, we haven't really shown anything yet, but we will pretty soon. We'll have more details, I would say, yeah, around towards the summer. So in maybe a month, 2 months, we should be able to show quite a bit of that.
You say the summer. You say the summer, and it seems like it's a long time away. It's not really all that far away, Thomas.
Oh, I know. So we need to get busy.
Peakview says a word about death in space. This is another. I wondered if folks were going to ask about this, because this is on Kickstarter right now, and kind of how are we involved in that somehow? You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it could be good to be clear in case it's, because what we do, we try to be as clear as we can about how this works, but I realize it can be confusing. Normally, all of our games, Free League, like core Free League games, they're all designed by us. And by us, I mean, we obviously work with a lot of freelance writers, but it's kind of, they're controlled and designed in the core team. Like the product manager, we're all doing the kind of work to produce and design these games in the core Free League team with the help of freelancers. And so that means they are all fairly follow a similar design philosophy. They might not all have exactly the same rule system or anything, even though quite a few of them have the year 0 system, but not all. Like obviously Symbaroum does not, but it's still they kind of belong in the same family, and we try to keep some kind of consistency across these games that it kind of makes sense. If you get a Free League game, you know something what you'll be getting. You have an idea of how we design games. But these other games, like the first one was Morkborg, and this Death in Space is the second one. They are games designed fully designed by other people. We just think that these games are awesome. They are different from the games that we do ourselves. They do their own thing in their own way. But what we're doing is basically we're helping them out with things like printing, and they're doing their own Kickstarter, but we'll help out with the shipping and warehousing and just basically help them out. So we'll be their publisher, but they are in full control of the creative aspects of designing the game. And that's not just the writing, but the art and the graphic design also is done by them, not by us. We just love it. We just think it's really cool stuff that we want to help get out there. So basically what we do is we have a sub-label called the Free League Workshop. It's basically the same as our community content program, but we decided to use the same kind of label just to kind of show that it's not Free League core games, it's Free League Workshop games. So they're a bit sort of their own thing, but still awesome stuff that we just help publish and help get out there. But so that's kind of how that works. So I hope that kind of clears it up in case you're, what is this, a Free League thing or is it not? What is it? So that's basically what it is. It's an externally designed and produced game that we help publish, basically.
Excellent.
Yeah,
and it's doing very well on Kickstarter. Congratulations to that team, and we're excited to see how that product and how that game is going to turn out once it's all said and done. This is a great question here, right? And maybe you can also pronounce the last part of it, because I know I'll probably slaughter it because I'm horrible at pronouncing. But it says, do you find that constraints breed creativity, as the saying goes? Or more concretely, are you more inspired to work on homegrown worlds or existing IPs? And then can you, what does that last part say, Thomas? I don't even want to try.
I mean, I have to. Jämtland and Härjedalen are two areas of Sweden. I'm not exactly what that means,
Okay.
but anyway, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's so different. I mean, and we have, I think, a bit different ideas or feelings about this in the core team as well. Some of us are very much into developing our own setting and fully, like, totally original ideas that are fully their own, whereas some others of us enjoy working in existing IPs or existing game settings. And I can enjoy both, but I think I'm kind of, at least personally, I find it inspiring to actually work in some kind of context that is kind of pre-existing, and the kind of challenge that I enjoy personally, it's something like Alien. It's like, how do we create a game that kind of just expands and works within those confines? How do we create a game system that kind of brings out and get the feeling of the films? How do we do that? I mean, that's kind of what I enjoy a lot. Whereas if I get like a completely blank state and just do whatever you like, do any game that you think is cool, I kind of freeze up. I want some kind of,
I can understand that,
constraints or some kind of context. At least that's how I personally, I think, work best, and that's what I enjoy. So for me, working on an IP, it has to be the right IP. I wouldn't be interested in just doing whatever franchise, anything. It has to be something that I feel passionate about. But if it is, then I think that for me that's a great place to be and work with franchises that I really truly love.
It's how is that like when you get to work with IPs that like you love and you grew up with? Like, that's gotta be such a, I've said this before, but man, that's like that's like your dream as a young person, like to work with like some of these big IPs, and like just it's awesome for you. I'm excited for you, and like, I don't even get to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that, and it is a lot of fun, and just kind of taking that and adding your own spin to it, and trying to turn that into a good game. It's that's a kind of it's an amazing fun challenge to do. Not always easy, but it is a lot of fun.
Sure. Let's see here. A question. Sarl asks, are there any plans to release Mutant Hindenburg internationally?
Well, it's actually I have it here. I just got it from the print.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's a big book. This is not the core game. That was already released in the summer. So this is like a scenario book, campaign book for that. It's only in Swedish so far. We hardly do anything only in Swedish anymore. We do more and more only in English, which some of our Swedish fans don't always appreciate. But it's tricky to do stuff in two languages. I mean, that's basically it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work. So it's not just that you need to translate everything. It's also when you do two languages, you have to make sure they stay on par and that they can start to differentiate, and strange things happen, and it just increases the complexity of the projects a lot. So for this one, for Hindenburg, the reason we did it, and it's because it builds on the Mutant franchise, which has one earlier edition in English, which is Mutant Year Zero, which is in the timeline of the universe is like the first. It's like the early day, like but in Sweden, there were earlier versions. The first one in the 80s, and then there was one in the early 2000s. So Mutant Year Zero is really like the third, depending on how you count, but the third edition in that same timeline. And the early ones, the 80s one and the other one, they took place like after Mutant Year Zero, several hundred years after. And Mutant Hindenburg takes place like 30 years after those. So it kind of doesn't really. It would be a weird thing to publish it in English because you would lack the needed context, I think. So it would be a strange game. And I think it would be hard to see the connection between Mutant Year Zero and Mutant Hindenburg because you kind of lack the connective tissue in between.
Sure.
Still, it could be it's still a nice game. I still it would kind of work, but it would be a bit strange, I think, just to translate it right off and just publish it word by word, because then you would kind of not get what this is about. So, but doing something in that vein, or doing an edition of Mutant Year Zero that takes place at a later time with a kind of a different setting, that is a more technologically advanced, or that had a sort of moved a bit. I mean, Mutant Year Zero is very much like you start from nothing. It's like the word is a wasteland, and you start building these settlements. I mean, a Mutant Year Zero game that takes place a bit later, where there is some kind of structure, some kind of society starting to reappear. That's definitely not. That is something we have considered, and that could happen. And that's one of the ideas that we have been discussing. So something along those lines. But I don't think we'll do a straight translation of Mutant Hindenburg, because it doesn't quite work that way unless you have the context of the early editions.
Sure. Frederick asks, what about the Cthulhu RPG? This was a stretch goal that when we did the first art book by Beranger on Kickstarter. The Call of Cthulhu is. Can you give any information for that?
One of those. I hate to say kind of back burner, because it's not quite true. There's definitely work being done on it internally and by freelancers. So we have a great first scenario written already by Gareth Hanrahan. Some of you might be familiar with his work. He's done a lot of great stuff for other publishers. So that's definitely in the works. But in the big, it's kind of a little bit like Astra. It's in the big scheme of things, we kind of have to decide on what to focus on at the moment. Sure. And this one is not. It's not one of those that we'll be releasing very soon. It's coming along, but it's kind of a little bit next stage stuff after these immediate things. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a 2021 release. So it'll most likely be next year, but it is coming. So in a sense, it's a bit unfortunate, since it was a stretch goal in that Kickstarter, which in hindsight maybe was a bit overly optimistic in how quickly we could get that done. But if you were a backer in that Kickstarter, you will be getting this. I think the stretch goal that it was included is the digital form.
Right.
It's not, so you will be getting it. It's coming, but it's it's not like a next week kind of thing. So it's one of those more long-term projects that we have and that we're working on. They're slowly, boiling away, and they're coming along, but it's going to take a bit of time.
The other question was asked that now that we have reprinted GenLab Alpha, is there any hope for a Mechatron reprint?
It's not impossible. Actually, that was we had thought that we would not reprint those books. Really, the idea is that, like we mentioned, Mutant Year Zero has been around for a long time. And some of the books were starting to run out of print. So we figured, okay, maybe we'll let them do that, and then we'll see if we make like a bigger reboot or something like that. So we figured we'll just let them, because it's tricky to reprint something that is quite old, and we don't want to get stuck with a big stockpile of books that just sit in the warehouse. And so it's always hard. It's easier to print lots of books of something that is new, and we just Kickstarted because we know fairly well how many we need to print. But a reprint of something that's quite old, it's very hard to say what the demand is actually like out there. So we need to be a bit careful. But in the end, we decided, because GenLab Alpha is one of those.
So good.
It's not. I think it's a really good game, and it's been asked for by a long time. So we figured, okay, let's just do that. We think it has And even if we do a bigger reboot of Mutant Year Zero at some point, that's also some ways off anyway. So I think it would be a shame not to have GenLab Alpha in print. Mechatron 2, it's also a nice one. So, I mean, in the sake of completeness, we should probably do that too. So we're looking into it now, but it really is a matter of how what the risk of just having lots of books sitting in the warehouse going nowhere,
Right.
which not a great situation to be in. So that kind of analysis or review is not quite clear yet. We wanted to see how well GenLab is doing before we decide to do the same thing for Mechatron. So it's a bit in the air, but it's definitely something that we're considering. And of course, it's always available in PDF format. So that, I mean, you can still get the content. It's just printed. So at Drive-Thru-RPG, it's available right now.
Right.
So there's always that. If you want to play the game, it's still possible. You can still get the PDF.
Let's take a few more questions. Looks like there's a lot of folks that are excited about Foundry releases, so that's very good. Another question was, are we working on anything for Tales from the Loop as far as that universe is concerned?
Yes, I mean, of course, the board game, but I guess you're asking about the board game most likely.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no problem. So therefore, on that front, there is a campaign book that we have. I don't know the date or the planning. I'd have to look it up. It's in the works. The text is all done, and it has been done for quite some time. And we're working on that. So that's coming along. We're going to be a scenario book of a collection of 4 scenarios that tie together into a campaign. So that's coming along. It's going to be nice. And we're also looking at making further, like, I mean, we love Simon Stoltenhagen and the worlds that he builds. So we're absolutely looking into and working on other projects, not necessarily in the Tales from the Loop universe, but a Simon universe. So I mean,
the Simon verse, I like it. Let's get that trending on social media.
So the Simon verse, there's stuff happening there that will also be announcing. I don't know exactly when, but in the fairly near future. So it's definitely stuff happening on that front also.
Nice. We'll take a couple more questions and then we'll probably wrap it up here pretty soon. Kevin wants to know, regarding stuff in development for Foundry, will the Colonial Marines operations manual book be released for Foundry?
We hope so, yeah. That's the idea. It takes a bit of time, of course, because we first have to finish and get the content in the book done and approved, which is almost done now. And really the Foundry conversion work has to start after that, because we need to make sure that they are exactly the same in terms of content. So that means we cannot start working on we cannot work in parallel, because then you run the risk of there, small differences appearing, and it gets very complicated if you change, a word there, you have to run over there and change the same words. You can't really do that. So we have to wait until the book is done, approved, complete, and then the Foundry conversion starts. So, but that's in the plans for sure. So as soon as basically the PDF of the book is done, the Foundry conversion work can start, and that usually it's going to take a couple of weeks. We'll have to talk to the developer about that, how long that will take, but they work fast in these usually for these conversions. So it should probably be, if not at the same time as the release of the PDF and the core and the book, at least just a matter of weeks or so later. That's kind of where we want to be.
Okay. Fenhorn asks, have you fixed a new shipping hub for the EU yet?
Yeah, in a sense. There is, I mean, this is a Brexit-related issue.
Yeah.
Brexit is, it has caused some trouble for us, to be honest, because it means that our main warehouse is no longer inside the EU, and we have quite a few customers and gamers in the EU, so that means shipping to them has suddenly become much more complicated. what we're doing now is, at least for Kickstarter pre-order fulfillment, those kinds of things, we'll be using a warehouse in the EU for that. We're still not in a place where we can ship web shop orders from our web store from a warehouse in the EU, because it's a complicated thing to have. Because basically what happens now is that we have our web shop, and it's integrated with the system of the UK warehouse, and then we have another warehouse in the US, and then we're going to have one in the EU, and just managing all that and integrating that so that it kind of works automatically, which we kind of need to, because we cannot manage every order manually and send it. It's just too time consuming and complicated, and just that kind of automation and integration is complicated and takes time. So we're not quite there yet. So for the moment, we're shipping web shop orders still from the UK, but we are absorbing, that's at least the general, we should, and we are doing that. We cover any import fees or import taxes for EU orders. I know there have been some problems with this, and it hasn't always worked the way it should, and we're working that out on a case-by-case basis, basically. But that's the idea. So it shouldn't affect buyers or customers that much, hopefully. And of course, this only affects you if you're in the EU. I mean, if you're in the UK or in the US, this doesn't affect you at all. There's no change because of Brexit for you. But still, it's I mean, we have people in the EU, and of course they're not too happy about this, and we're not either. But we're trying to work it out as best we can.
Sure. And I think the final question that we should end on, which I think a lot of folks are wondering about, it's from Frederick. Frederick says, any update on the Coriolis cookbook?
Yeah, excellent question. Yeah, it's a great question.
I thought that was perfect. I made sure to save that one for the last.
I think it's the last I heard, it's coming along really well. So, yeah, it's gonna be worth waiting for.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Bring on Costa sometime, and he can tell you all about the details.
Yeah, definitely should. We should just dedicate a whole session for the Coriolis cookbook.
What recipes are going to be in there, and yeah, I think you should do that.
Who his inspirations are for the recipes, exactly. And yeah, I think so. I think that needs to be a thing. Let us know if you'd like to see that on this channel, because we can make that happen if that's something that you really want us to provide. So all right, I think that's going to do it for this update. I want to thank everyone for tuning in live. If you have watched all this way and you haven't already, hit that like button down below. We really greatly appreciate our community here. Thank you so much. I know this it's been a rough kind of 12 months plus for everyone, and we're glad that we were able to connect and communicate this way, and we're glad to keep the lines of communication open with everybody that loves what we do, and we greatly appreciate it. Without you all, we can't do all this awesome stuff that we love to do. So thank you so much for being here for us. All right, that's it.
Cool.
Be safe, be well, and we'll see you next update. Be on the lookout for Ruins of Symbaroum content headed your way here shortly in the next couple weeks. See ya. Bye now.
Bye.